All right, welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am here to talk about the main event for UFC 290, Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez is 30 years old, 15-3 as a pro, and he's got 5 inches of height, yet giving up a half inch of reach to 34-year-old Alexander Volkanovski, who is 25-2. This is an awesome fight because Volkanovski is one of the best fighters on the planet, and Yair Rodriguez is the most interesting challenge for him as of now. I know some people are going to say Topuria and whatever, but Yair is like a perfect challenger for him. Yair's got 9 finishes and his 15 wins, 5 by knockout, 4 by submission, and just 6 decisions. I shouldn't say just 6, that's actually a good amount. And the 3 losses come 2 by TKO, 1 by decision. He was knocked out early in his career. It was a clean knockout to this guy, Luis Herrera. That was, again, very early in his career, but still a clean knockout. And the other TKO was the Frankie Edgar, in which Frankie smashed his eyes shut. Really dominated him. Took him to the ground, stuffed his guard, and beat him up till his eye was shut. He was on his way to winning a decision, certainly, but the fight ended up ending after round 2. And Max Holloway beat him by decision last year. That was a clean win for Max, but a very impressive performance from Yair Rodriguez. He looked awesome against Max. Was really beating him up early on the feet, forced Max to go with a wrestling game plan, and Max did take him down and find a lot of success there. But on the feet, still, Yair was the last man standing. I thought he won round 5. He looked incredible in that fight altogether and made it a real war. And since then, that's what got him the fight with Josh Emmett, and that's the best he ever looked. Beat the shit out of Josh Emmett and tapped him out from the guard with a triangle choke. Just a picture-perfect performance. Incredible way to win a belt, even if it's an interim belt. Yair, man, the upside has always been there. He's always been one of the most dangerous fighters in the world, and if he puts it all together, he can finish anybody. He can finish Volkanovski, and he's always dangerous. I have to mention it. The 25th minute knockout over Korean Zombie, Chan Sung-jung. That's the most unique knockout in MMA history. It makes Buckley's kick on Kasanganai look like a fucking straight-up right cross. You know, that was an elbow, a counter elbow, whatever you call it, backward uppercut elbow. Yair's always been a crafty striker. I mean, look at what he did to Andre Fili. You know, hit him with the jumping soccer kick, switch kick, whatever the fuck. You know, he's a very crafty striker, really good at range with the kicks, but also he can throw down. He's got good power in his hands. You know, was really cracking Max Holloway. And I think he's definitely going to have some success at range with Volkanovski. Definitely. But is he going to be able to sustain it? And is he going to be able to keep it on the feet? Because Volkanovski, I have a hunch, is going to be looking to rip Yair to the ground like Max did and like Frankie did in particular. Because if you look at the blueprint on how to beat Yair, the blueprints that are available, I'm sure Volkanovski, with his stature, is looking to the Frankie Edgar fight. Of course, at this point, that was 7 years ago, and Yair has been working on all of his weaknesses, as he said in an interview today, I think, that, you know, and when he says weaknesses, he's talking about being off his back and, you know, any way he's lost. And, you know, I don't expect him to be a fish out of water there, but Volkanovski, he's a fucking monster. The guy is still incredibly tough to get out of there, only been finished once as a pro, and it was very, very early in his career, fighting a guy he shouldn't have been fighting, a really solid welterweight over in Australia with a 12-5 record, and he knocked him out with a head kick in round 3, which I haven't seen the fight, I've just seen the finish. It was a good finish, but Volkanovski should, you know, I wish I could have seen the whole fight because I'm sure Volk gave him hell, but Volk taking that in his 3rd fight, by the way, taking on a guy with almost 20 fights and a guy who was a welterweight with a solid winning record. No shame in that loss. But since then, his only other loss has been to Islam Makhachev in his last fight, and really close fucking fight. It was really, really close. Islam did outpoint him, in my opinion, and on the feet was doing well as well. But in the end, Volk cracked him, was beating him up overall, and Volk had won at least 2 rounds in that fight and looked damn good doing so. I think he came out of that a winner, and hopefully he battles his way back to another super fight or something. But Yair's a very dangerous matchup. Volk's got to mind his P's and Q's. Again, he was knocked out many years ago. I know it was to a welterweight and in his 3rd fight and whatever, but still, he was knocked out. So it's something you have to look to. Just like Yair Rodriguez was knocked out by Luis Herrera. But Volkanovski, I expect to win this fight. He's looked like the perfect fighter in the UFC. He can fight hard at the championship level for 25 minutes. Outwork and outlast Max Holloway, and which I know Yair had a really strong round 5, but Volk is the much more consistently good 5-round fighter. The Brian Ortega fight, another example of Volk's grit, being put in the Darce choke, the triangle choke, the guillotine choke, and he had an answer for everything, fought his way out of everything, and beat the shit out of Brian Ortega overall. He's not the best finisher as of late, aside from the Korean Zombie, got him out of there. But Volk still hits incredibly hard, and he's got every bit of volume as he does power. His volume matches his power. Volkanovski can throw down hard as anybody, and he can do so for 25 minutes. He's a really difficult athlete to overwhelm on the ground, get down in the first place. And he's like the perfect fighter. I think he does beat up Yair Rodriguez. I think he has a really shaky start because Yair's going to be working well at range. But I think Volk's going to figure him out in one way or another. Probably getting him to the ground and trying to duplicate the Frankie Edgar performance. I would think that's what Volk has in his head. But in general, even though we've seen him maul guys in the UFC, fucking Jeremy Kennedy and Brian Ortega and a few other guys, but he wants to be on the feet, Volk. So if he engages in a striking battle, without going for any takedowns, this is a very interesting fight. And even on the ground, it's not like Volk takes him down, he's going to beat the shit out of him. You have to worry about everything Josh Emmett had to worry about. You're not out of danger ever with Yair. And I mean ever. Again, I'll bring up the Korean Zombie victory. But I am picking Volkanovski to win. I think he would win this fight by winning down the stretch. I don't know if that means a decision or a late finish. Depends on how Yair looks in a loss, but I would say a decision. I would say it looks similar to the Max Holloway fight, but I think it's going to be pretty close. I have not bet on Volkanovski, and I have bet on Yair Rodriguez. I know I said the same shit for Dricus du Plessis and everybody else, but there's so Val Woodburn, Josiah Harrell, all these guys are gigantic underdogs, and especially for the fighters I actually do know, like Yair and Volkanovski, I think the odds are off for this one. Yair's a very skilled fighter, very versatile. We've seen him defeated more in the UFC, of course, but he's still a very game fighter, and that fight with Max Holloway was as impressive as Volkanovski's loss to Islam Makhachev. Still, gun to my head, if you told me pick a fighter who's going to win, I'd go with Volk. Volkanovski by decision is the pick. Like, share, subscribe, all that horseshit, and check out my other videos.